As a second generation Asian immigrant that was born in Australia, I feel like there's a lot of jokes about this, but there's not a lot of proper discourse about how it feels being a child of immigrants and the guilt that you feel when you have a better life compared to your parents and your family. Both of my parents fled communist countries, and my dad fled communist China after he was persecuted. His family went through a lot of turmoil. They lost basically all their land and their houses. My grandpa was locked in a pig pen. They were beaten by the Red Guard. It was horrendous, and that's why they fled and left the country. My mom's family were refugees from Vietnam, fleeing the Vietnam War. They came on refugee boats. They were at sea, not knowing if they were going to survive, on a tiny little canoe. They got raided by pirates. They stayed in refugee camps in Cambodia, and they didn't know where they were going to go. And my mum's family actually split up into lots of batches. So because there were 11 siblings, they split up so that, 2 would go on one boat, 3 would go on one boat at different points in time, because they didn't know if they were going to survive the journey. So that's the backstory and the reality of many Asian immigrants in Australia or other Western countries. Now, as their children, you know this information growing up, and you do feel a big sense of responsibility and pressure to reap the benefits of your parents and the sacrifices that they have made to make it to this country. And this isn't just for Asian immigrants, it's for many immigrants across any immigrant country. A lot of the reasons why those people left their countries is because their countries were war-torn, or they were being persecuted, or it was just unsafe for them to stay. Not a lot of people actually move and learn a whole new language, not know any of the systems, just because they wanted to. Obviously, there were better opportunities here for survival, and that's the reason why they left. When my parents came here, they did not know a lick of English at all, so they had to learn it from scratch. My mum would tell me that she would watch Disney movies and cartoons in order to learn the English language, because it was catered to children, and that's how she picked it up. And now my parents are pretty fluent in English. But it is hard because, especially with the rising use of technology, it's really hard for parents to keep up with that. And not only do they have to cross the barrier of these technological advances that is happening so rapidly, like using a smartphone and all the apps that go along with that, but they're also navigating a second layer of language barrier that is so hard for them. So even if you think this is your native tongue, it's already hard for people of a past generation to catch up to the new generation. But for immigrant families, it's so much harder. And as a child of immigrants, you have to be the one to step up and help your parents navigate that, and that can be also very challenging. At a young age, we are expected to sign all these documents, or help our parents sign and read all these formal government documents, because they don't know how to do that, because their English is just not as fluent. So because we have an Australian education, we are expected to know all these things, even though we're literally children or teenagers and we don't know what these government or official documents really even mean, but we're helping our parents navigate that too. And I think that's why a lot of child of immigrant families are very high achieving, because we have that pressure placed on us, especially if you are the eldest daughter, which I am, and you have this expectation to succeed. And not only are you trying to succeed in your own life, if you're in New South Wales, a lot of Asian families, they will be studying so hard for the HSC and going to uni and getting all these really good jobs and careers. I went to uni straight after high school. I'm in a professional career as an occupational therapist, and that's a lot of pressure. What I'm realizing is that I need to unlearn a lot of that pressure that I put on myself, because it has served me well. It has taken me very far in my life, and it's given me a lot of skills and knowledge. but that pressure is not sustainable for your whole life, and it will burn you out eventually, especially when you have so much responsibility on your shoulders. I think a lot of us child of immigrants are kind of unlearning this, because when you grow up, you feel that guilt of, I should be doing the most, I should be achieving the most, because my parents never had this opportunity. My dad wasn't even allowed to go to school in communist China because he was considered a child of capitalists, and they banned him from going to school. So him putting that emphasis on me indirectly, that, you know, you have to appreciate going to school and achieving all these things because I never had the opportunity. Now, it's not like my parents ever forced that mindset on me. My parents weren't really like tiger parents or anything like that, which is a very big stereotype in Asian culture. But you just feel this innate responsibility because you're given so much opportunity compared to your parents' upbringing. So you want to take advantage of that because you know that you're very lucky to do so. Couple this with toxic productivity culture and hustle culture and capitalism and the need to work as a cog in the machine. It's just compounding, because if I'm not doing anything, or if I'm just being normal and not doing anything I consider productive, I feel horrible, and I'm like, you know, I'm so lazy, I'm like worthless. And it really is tied to your sense of self-worth, that feeling of feeling useful and that you're doing something meaningful, because you have this perception growing up. But I'm slowly starting to unlearn that, and obviously I have a lot of love for my family and my parents and a lot of filial piety, so I do still hold that responsibility very dearly. But I think there is a balance that you need to strike where, you know, you can do things for your family, but you also need to not burn yourself out so that you're in the ground as well and be like self-sacrificial, because I think sometimes you feel the need to be self-sacrificial because your parents sacrificed so much for you. Anyhow, I just wanted to share a bit about my experience as an Asian of immigrant parents, and I wanted to have this discussion to see if anyone else relates to that, because I think it is very nuanced and it should be discussed more, because this is the way we are, why we are the way we are, why we achieve so much, and a lot of us are in very professional careers and do really well for ourselves, but it also is a silent killer as well, and it's definitely led to a lot of burnout in me myself.